Hey, welcome back to the Create an Impact podcast. Today, we're going to dig into a concept that seems simple at first, but it's actually a game changer for how you live life, and that's being flexible and adaptable. It's not just about rolling with the punches, but it's more of the choice of how you respond when things go sideways. And it is a choice, and that choice can shift everything. So we're here with Jeet, author of Create an Impact. He's joining me again today, and we're talking about what real flexibility looks like. And thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. We're here because you're here. And we don't have ads because these are just filmed intentionally as a gift to you guys. So hope you find value in the conversations. Consider sharing it with people that you care about because we care about you and you care about them. So let's jump into it. Buddy, we're here again. And today we're talking about flexibility, not as it applies to touching your toes, but more around the adaptability that we have in life and how that shows up. So I have lots of thoughts I want to explore with you around your business journey and things like that. But before we get into those, can we just set the stage for what does the flexible way of being look like? Why is it valuable? And maybe a couple examples of inflexible being, just to get everyone on board with what the topic is.
Oh, definitely. And thanks for having me, Eric, again. And I'm just so looking forward to this conversation. See, flexibility is required when you work with other people. If, let's say, you are alone at your home, you are having a dinner, you are having lunch, you are having breakfast, no one cares when you are going to have it because you are alone. But the moment you have a family with you, you better be flexible when you have it based on how it works for everybody. So it's important for human beings to understand flexibility is important and an extremely, extremely critical tool when you engage with other people, when you work with other people, when you live with other people. Because if you don't see things through their lenses, and if you operate with a fixed way of being, which might work when you are alone, but may be absolutely counterproductive when you work with other people. So flexibility for me allows human beings to work together. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have a say in the matter. That doesn't mean that you don't have a stand for yourself. That doesn't mean that you become a doormat and people roll over on you all the time. But it means that you are open to understand, and it creates a win-win situation.
This is going to be a fun conversation because of all of the opportunity that we have to not let people think that we're talking about, okay, it's just your way, I can't be myself. So share more about the fixed way of being. If I show up, I'm assuming in your world, you're talking from closed-mindedness, pride, lack of humility. It's my way or the highway kind of a thing.
Correct. And fixed way of being can be extremely detrimental because now you're not considering other people. But also fixed way of being will allow you to live by your values and live by in a certain way that you stand for. So it'll be worth exploring in what context, because one can be extremely advantageous and one can be extremely detrimental to who you are as a leader and who you are as a person. So I can explore both. Maybe I can start with how it helps you and also how it creates problems for you, or how it might create problem for you. So how it helps you. For example, as an organization or as a human being, let's talk about me as a human being. I'm a vegetarian, right? And eating meat is not okay with me to the extent that I'm very fixed in that regard. I will not eat non-veg.
Well, even beyond that, it's not just your commitment. It's really as a result of family,
Yep,
right?
and I want to explore that with you because for other party, it might look like, oh, he's so fixed about that. And there is a reason behind it. Because I think for me, I love my wife so much, so dearly. And there was a conversation initial days of our getting together. For her, it's non-negotiable. It doesn't work at all. At our home, as she can't stand up, she can't stand to eating meat. She'll be okay if you are eating, but not herself eating or the people she really live with and close and see them very close by to their heart. So for me, that was a conversation. It's a fixed way of being. I'm not eating meat, but there is a principle, there is a value behind it. I love my wife. I want to spend time with her in a meaningful way where she feels that I express my love. And the rule is that I don't eat meat. So that is that's a good side of it. And I explain to people. No one forces me. Most of the time, even when people choose restaurants, they always think our Jeet is vegetarian. Now, there could be religious reasons for some people, the way they show up, and that's the value they really have, and it's a fixed way of being. But people can understand any fixed way of being, which you can articulate, and people can understand without impacting their life. It's a good thing. Like you stand for something, and people will be okay with that. But then there is another way, a fixed way of being can show up like this. In the company setup, um, we say we are only going to work on Microsoft Dynamics, right? It's our fixed way of staying. Or we have heard about, or you can have a car, but it has to be black only, right? The famous declaration from Ford that no, it is going to be T is going to be only in black, right? Available. That was his fixed way of being. And some point of time, he realized that that's not how it works. For us also, anytime when we look at our company or organization or anything we do, where we say we are only going to work on this technology, or we are going to hire only this kind of people, or we are going to work in these hours, or we are going to work with these kind of partners and clients, I challenge that because that can be very detrimental to the operation and organization and the company as a whole. I challenge, why are we doing it? What's the value behind it? What's the principle that we are implementing here? Why so? Now, if we say we are going to work only on Microsoft Dynamics for 3 months or 3 years because it's helping us to grow the business, I understand, but not lifelong. So fixed way of being can be very helpful, but also one should be extremely watchful and thoughtful and even careful, not to let it become the fixed way of being, and that can really put you in a disadvantage level.
Yeah, as you were sharing, it came to mind some of the things that we do take a stand for, like working in person in most cases. And there's so much behind that. We're a people first organization. It's really hard to be a stand for someone else or invest in someone else's life if you're only ever interacting through a screen. And then Stanford also came out with a study that talked about the productivity of learning in person, where if you're just at home, you're only in your world with your experience and your knowledge. But if I'm sitting next to another product team and I'm hearing their conversations all day long, I'm increasing my knowledge through proximity. And that's actually that really impacts performance, they found in the study.
Absolutely. And I think we should explore that fixed way of being and how we introduce flexibility within the framework of that fixed way of being. We say all employees, everybody should work from our office. And that's our stand as a fixed way of being. And we have tremendous flexibility within that framework. We say working from home is a entitlement, but being remote is a responsibility. So what does it mean? That means that we have many employees in our company who love working for In Time Tech, who love working for us, but they had a family event. They got married, and their spouse and their family members staying out of state. And we were very flexible that we allowed and approved that person to work remotely. Because now it's not about that we don't trust that person or things like that, that was coming in most of the people's way, why people should not work from home and productivity and everything. But in this case, it's the value that we stand for. But together, we can do so many things, and it is our contribution in that person's life, just like the contribution that person makes by working for In Time Tech. So we take a stand, but within that stand, we show extreme flexibility. Or like some family requirements are there for people to stay back home. There is a sick child or sick parents that they need to take care of it. It's all allowed. It's absolutely allowed, and we take a lot of care in the process. And our employees show up differently because they experience our care and love. by letting them do it remotely.
And we show that care and love in some really interesting ways that I think are probably unique to a lot of people, especially that are involved in um, like other corporate settings, where we take a stand, we're fixed in our being when it comes to the joyful experience and not working in misery. That was so strange for me to wrap my head around. Like, you are literally not going to let me
Yeah.
show up angry and frustrated and life doesn't work, or there, we don't allow for that. And it's not that we don't allow for it. We invest as leaders in these people to show them a way of life and a way of being. And we do whatever we can to fix that unhappiness,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to values, principles, rules, right? So we should elaborate and explore that. So how do you define value and how do you define principles and how do you define rules? So our value is creating abundance. That's what we stand for. Our principles are that everybody should be happy. Everybody should be joyful because that's an integral part of being a company that stands for creating abundance. And the rule is you better express yourself.
Yeah.
You better share what's happening in your world. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so in that context, I won't leave you alone. Because if I leave you alone, it may be a fixed thing. But that is such an important thing for our company. We won't change it. It is our integral, it is a DNA that we stand for. It is absolutely a stand, a foundation for our company to exist on. And if you let that happen, that where people don't believe in creating abundance and don't operating with those principles and rules that I'm talking about, then you compromise the integrity of the company and organization on which this foundation is. So those are the things which I can share, that why I was behind you. And I will always be behind on people when they are grumpy or grouchy and not expressing themselves, not happy, not self-expressed. I told them this is against our values. And our principle is you better understand you should be open to express yourself. I can understand there are days when you may not be happy, but you better share so that we can come along with you.
And that's a beautiful and super unique thing. And it's not a cute saying. It's not something we put up on a poster on the wall. You know, a lot of times I think I was in a dentist recently and there's like 11 values behind them. And I'm like, how do those play out? And they're like, I didn't even notice that was there. But for us, we are, it is so much part of the DNA of what defines us and who we are that we would be out of integrity if leaders didn't care about the people they were leading. And that's amazing.
No, I appreciate that.
So let's get a little bit, I'll wind us back in. Let's talk more about on the entrepreneurial journey, on the business side of life. How does flexibility and a flexible way of being show up for you?
Yeah. I think I say that in Time Tech is stand for creating abundance. We just happen to build software. I think creating abundance is fixed. Building software is flexible. What kind of software? We started the company starting a web development. Then we moved on to more of a model view control architecture. We never had a UI UX practice. We didn't have a marketing team. We didn't have a formal HR. We never worked on Microsoft Dynamics that I talked about a few minutes ago, Salesforce or any CRM, .NET, Java, Python, C, C++, embedded systems. We talk about all the things, cybersecurity. We are extremely flexible of what kind of software we develop. We never worked on DevOps before 2017. That word didn't even exist inside the company. Now that's one of our core competency. AI is now the world that we live into. So how it shows up in entrepreneurial journey, I'm always listening and I'm always learning. And the question which I am looking in those listening and learning, what is required and what is needed to instantiate and also express ourselves as a corporate and as a company for our people that we care and serve about. So how it shows up every day. We never had a US office. We are now very flexible to expand our offices all over the US right now. We have this 49 states strategy, like we always have an office in Idaho, but then now we're expanding into every state. So I would say it is every part of our companies that we are extremely flexible within the framework of creating abundance.
And even in that, what I've seen from you and through you to everyone here at In Time Tech is the level of partnership that we provide when we work with a customer. They're not a customer, we're not a vendor, we're a technology partner. And as such, it's not just, hey, here's what we can do and we'll figure out how to fit it in with what you need. It's we see a need and maybe we don't even have that capability yet. And you give us a few weeks, we'll get it because we're so vested in this partnership.
And you don't need to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Either, right? ROI or don't pay. We are taking stand for that partnership that you just talked about, and we will listen and we will learn and we'll come together. And we have a skin in the game. We are going to learn on our dime because we want to show you the value as a partner. So we do those kind of things also too. So flexibility is all along, everywhere in our company. We talk about technology. I can talk about things that we always believed in, but then instantiation can be different. Like we wanted to build a product. That was another stand we took as a creating abundance. But what kind of product? Hardly we care about. We started in 2012, 2013. We built in-time CRM. And we just wanted to build a product. After 2 years, we killed it because it didn't work. Then we went on to Cartos. It's an asset management software that we built for one of the Fortune 100 companies in the world, Fortune 100 company in the world. We built that one, it worked, and then we extended that. Now we are building an next-gen ag and tech. We never had an idea about agriculture, but then someone who had expertise came along and say, hey, would you be open to build a product? We are doing that. We're building an airport management system now. We're building a supplier match. So what kind of product? We are extremely flexible. But we wanted to be a technology company, express ourselves.
Yeah. Yep. And even in the supplier match example, it wasn't just we saw a need in one instance. We're part of NMSDC, and as a minority business enterprise, we had a hard time connecting buyers and suppliers. And so we looked at it and we said, okay, well, it's something we have. There's 18,500 other MBEs in the US. They have that need too. Let's solve the problem. We don't, what's the saying? Don't make vitamins, make painkillers.
Yeah, no,
we're making painkillers.
Yeah, I think there is a call. Is it oxygen, jewelry, or aspirin? Right? So look at the product line that way. Is it a good to have? Is it a must to have? Is kind of need to have? Depends. And we always look for the problem solving because in the matchmaking at NMSDC, we had a tough time finding right partners. Right? We were a supplier. We were not looking. We did not able to find right buyer. Now, we were also looking for suppliers and we didn't know how to find the right people. Yeah. So we saw a real need. Another one where we talk about our stand. So we talked about now company, we wanted to build creating abundance, software, product. Another way as a part of our creating abundance, we want our human beings to be self-expressed. All employees that we have and those who work for In Time Tech. Now, in order to be self-expressed, you need to know yourself, discover yourself. Now, we don't care how you're going to discover yourself, but it's an important item and element of that. If you don't know yourself, you cannot know the world because you will be grumpy and grouchy and angry. You don't even know why you got at a place where you are now angry or frustrated. Yeah. So we say, okay, go to a seminar. We send majority of our employees to Landmark. Go and discover yourself. Now, some people say, no, that's not for me. I said, great, don't go there. Then read books, right? They say, yeah, I'm not a reader. Then I say, okay, listen to audiobook. You know, when you drive, like when you are commuting, you just open up and then put it something through Audible and then listen to. And say, yeah, my commute is too short. And I say, let's go to seminar, like our internal, we call an offsite meeting. We do there. Or you go to a church camp or you go to any other religious camp or find it. I don't care. There is tons of flexibility in terms of how you want to discover yourself. But it's important. It's an important element of as a stand called creating abundance because without being fully self-awareness, self-knowledge, you will be completely aloof. And sometimes ignorant is a bliss, but then that bliss will create a lot of problem for a lot of people. And we say, no, that's not how our employees work together here. And we take a stand called one for all for one, and we just demand for our employees to have a self-discovery process.
I was just recently having a conversation. When you're that self-aware, even to a degree, maybe not fully self-aware, because that takes just massive amounts of work and a long time, but you start looking at the workplace as a place to contribute, to invest your time, talent, skills. It becomes more than just a job. And people
Definitely.
that show up, oh, this is just a job, I'm just here for the paycheck. That's an opportunity to really look at, like, what's your contribution in life? What's your self-expression in life, such that who you are when you show up, things are created.
Also, Eric, if you look at that side of the things, you are spending quite a bit of time at a workplace. Like if you about Saturday, Sunday, people say we don't work. Let's say 5 days in a week. That like a 70% of your life at work, or out of which half of your life is spent because 8 hours you sleep in those days, remaining 16 hours you spend here. So all in all, you're spending about 40 to 50% of your life at workplace. And if you are not aware who you are, and if you are not aware who others are that you work with, you are just not going to be happy, fully expressed employee, and you won't find joy at all working with other people because you are going to think about you are going to be defensive, you are angry, you don't know why people are not showing up, why you are not showing up, all kinds of problem you will face, and all kinds of problem you will create. And what I've also seen, the people who are not aware about themselves, they're kind of arrogant people.
Mm.
They know it all because they don't know much, but that's their defense mechanism. That's a defensive mechanism they really operate with because they are worried and concerned and fearful that if I open up, that I don't know much, because not everyone knows everything, but they have to show as I know it all because they are worried about how people will treat them.
I don't even have to make this theoretical. I'm just going to use me as an example. That's the first coaching you gave to me. And coaching's the nice way. Really kicked my butt on this one. Was, I was defensive and nervous early on when I was hired that I got to be the right guy. And so I had this one piece of content that did really well and like increased our engagement by some humongous percentage, like 17,000%. And I made sure that leadership knew they hired the right guy. And I was genuinely, I didn't identify it as pride at the time, but I was just saying, hey, I want to encourage you that you have the right guy.
Correct.
But the way that landed, the experience I created was,
look at me.
You are nervous and concerned and have all kinds of rackets going on in your head, and you're showing up as prideful.
Yep.
And when you told me that day in the meeting with 2 other founders, my first big meeting like that, woo, it was very, very hard for me to try on because I wasn't flexible in my mindset at that time.
And you were thinking that I'm making a difference for the company.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Jeet? I'm doing what is required. But it was coming from the place of not self-awareness because you had an agenda. You didn't care about that piece of content did so well or company. You wanted to make sure that you are worthy of something.
Yeah.
And that completely docked everything. And the same thing is very useful when you say, I don't care. I'm going to keep creating content and I'm here to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's not about Eric, but you made it about you.
And it took me 3 weeks to understand what you meant.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad in the sense of mad at you. I was just like, what is he talking about? I don't see it. I don't agree. And it was total rigidity that I had in my mindset because I thought I was right. And then it took about 3 weeks for it finally to go like, oh, let me just do marketing well and things are going to happen. And I don't have to blast it out there.
And not that I'm the right guy. I'm already a guy. I'm already the guy. He headed over the entire marketing team. Why do I need to prove that I'm the guy? Right? There is no point.
Yep.
And yet people can't get over because for them it's critical. And because they are not fully sure and assured that they are the right people. So they have to prove the point. They are empty and void, and the internal insecurities drive their behavior. And honestly, people like ego has many dimensions, and ego has also a negative connotation. It has element of it where your identity becomes the forefront. Your identity, your ego, your need, all of that drives and decides your behavior. And you don't care about other people. So as a part of the self-awareness, I have an ego. If somebody says I don't have ego, it tells how big of an ego that person has. It's not about that whether I have an ego or not, but I'm aware of my ego. I'm aware of my needs. And when I really look at it, I say, Jeet, is it about you or is it about what you stand for? Is it about in time tag is it creating abundance, or do I need to show up that Jeet is the reason why this companies work? I say, knock it off. Who cares, right? You are going to leave this world empty-handed. Yeah, you started a company and you were just gotten by it and great. Company came to exist where it is. Why are you making about yourself? And when I have a need to make it about myself, I can be in the presence of it. I can be aware of it and I can put that aside because I know the ramification and the ugly side of it. Because the moment I make it about me, then that is about you, not about what you stand for. So I want every human being those who work for in time tech for sure, but everyone to have a self-discovery. What you stand for, what is your identity, what do you like, what you don't like, why, what do you want, what you don't want. And that is a process I demand from everybody who works for In Time Tech.
So that sounds good. I know it takes a lot of work. What are some resources that you personally would drive people towards, like Tribal Leadership or Radical Candor, or of course your two books? What other kind of resources?
So first and foremost, when I get involved, which I get involved pretty much in every way in the company for our employees, I must start asking a few questions to start with. And I'll come to the resources because our audience needs to know because they won't get access to me on a daily basis. I ask, what do you want? Where are you going? Do you know who you are? Do you know what makes you happy? All of those questions.
I was so frustrated the first time you were like, hey, if you were a word, what word would you be?
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't think of it. I have no idea. I had no self-awareness early on. It was wild how, and life was normal. I didn't even know the value of having it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So you asked me what kind of resources one can look at it and can be made available to them. I think I would look at it 3 ways. Your personal development, personal discovery, then your skills and tools that you need to develop and practice, and then actual profession that you are in. So for example, you as a human being, who you are, what you are. So there are a lot of inquiries that one has to go through because who we have become is the result of the past. And for our no fault of ours and no mistakes of ours, we ended up and we wound up being some ways and others. We need to really make it not who we are as that past, but we have the past. And so then we can have a choice about that. So Landmark Forum, there are certain other seminars are available out there. More than happy to talk more about that. We can create one more session about it. But find something that will allow you to have someone who has done this kind of work and who can be a coach, a teacher, an instructor, a priest, or whatever works for you. But have someone who has done this kind of work and you trust, and let that person come along with you. So that's one source and resource. Another one, books. Books are a great way. Like pick up a book. I think there is one thing which we have done a really good job in our company. We have a library and we just make a recommendation. We recommend all kinds of books to people. Tribal Leadership you talk about, 3 Laws of Performance you talk about, Speed of Trust, Magic of Thinking Big, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Think and Grow Rich, all of those kinds of books. You just pick up Radical Candor, Ego is the Enemy. Those are great books.
And we don't just recommend books and have a library. We actually have leaders ongoing every year, a couple times a year, doing these groups called Learn and Grow and Learn and Connect to help instantiate that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then you talked about two books that I've written. Right, those two books are available. Those are also my summary of my own discovery and all the things which I've learned up until now in my life. And the last one is execution, like implementing skills and tools. So those are business books, management books, our engineering books. All of that we read, like clean code and design thinking and all of that for our engineers. But for our leaders, execution, the discipline of getting things done, leading change, goal. There are many books which are more operational side of it. How do you get the work done? How do you lead a change? How do you show up as a manager? So have someone you can who has done this kind of work. Anyone that you feel free, that you trust, ask him or her. Okay, can you help me? TED Talks is a great way. Other resources are available. Attend seminars, read books, come along.
One concept that I really appreciate is when you're looking for advice, don't look for advice from someone that's a couple steps ahead of you. Look for advice from someone that's hundreds of steps ahead of you.
Absolutely.
Because they've for sure learned and gotten where they are because they know where you're at versus a friend or someone in your network that's just a little bit ahead. They may not actually have actionable advice for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For example, like if you are a high school player, you are just talking about someone who's a state level, asking versus you go to a college level player. They will give you further insight. How do you close the gap? Like if you are running back, what do you do? And how do you really take a stand and all that stuff that come along. So I can't agree enough, Eric, that find someone who is quite farther ahead in the game. They have done the work because their horizon will be much bigger.
Yeah. And so you create the experience of being a crazy man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you stand out from the crowd because of your commitment and your rigidity in some areas and your flexibility in others, and just your overall drive and consistency for creating abundance. So that leads me to ask, where is the framework you use to decide when to be rigid and when to be flexible?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one has to be clear. Clarity is the foundation of choosing when to stand for, when to let go, right? Because I also say if you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. And that's not good, right? So for us, it starts with me. So I have an extreme clarity that these are the things, they are non-negotiable, they are fixed. I can give you a list of the items. For example, people have to understand that they can live their life about themselves or they can live life for other people. So the moment I see someone is living their life or someone is living his life for himself, I question. I say, no, buddy, you need to show up for other people and let other people take care of you. So I'm fixed that you need to have a contributor mentality, not a consumer mentality. Because if you're a consumer, you're going to take all the energy in and going to add to the energy that you need to provide to make this platform big and express for a lot of people. So creating abundance versus scarcity. If someone comes to work for Time Tech with scarcity mentality, it's not okay, right? Abundance is the mentality. Now within that, I can let you choose the kind of life you want to live. You can be technologist, but you can be people manager. You can be a BA, business analyst, and work with the client facing to collect the requirement, or you can become a salesperson. You can go to the marketing, or you can be a videographer. You choose how you want to, because that's something which I'm not going to tell you, but you better have a mentality of abundance rather than scarcity. That's how I show up every day.
And that's not just here. That's in our partnerships as well.
Everywhere.
And prior to me joining the company, there's a story that happened really early on, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I think it's one of the craziest business stories I've ever heard. And that's where we walked away from 80% of our revenue at the time. How did flexibility play into that and rigidity into that scenario? Maybe you can give the story.
There were a little over 80%. $2.86 million was our total revenue. And $2.4 million used to come from one client. So you can see it was somewhere between 80 to 90% of our revenue. And it comes down to abundance versus scarcity mentality. That partner said or demanded that the scope on my terms, schedule on my terms, and a scope on my terms. And I say, buddy, how does that work? This is not abundance. This is not partnership. This is like a win-lose. You don't even care. We are not here to be, you know, taken advantage of. It looks very normal, by the way. It's natural. Sure. Why would you like to work for that company? But when you're 80+% revenue coming from one, your company's life and the future and existence depends on that decision. And so for me, I was saying, I stood up and said, it's not okay. And by the way, also he used to, decide, demand, dictate, dominate on all the leaders in the company. And I was letting it happen up until a level where I was just kept working with him. I was saying, it's not okay. Are you open? We can work on your scope, this kind of requirement and feature at that schedule with that many resources. Can you listen? Can you understand? Can you be open? And I worked with that person for more than a year. Because not that I was worried about that this business will go away, but I wanted to be sure that I've done everything and more to ensure that it's not my way. And when I got completely clear that that person is not open, he would not listen. He would demand. And our leaders in the company, except me, and this is story without going into the details, everybody was scared of him. And everybody was scared of the existence of the business as well, too. They were saying, okay, if we don't do, we are done here. And I say, all right. There was a meeting happened. It was in Europe. We went over there, all of us, and I just stood up and I told him, no, this is not how we are going to do it. We are done. It'll not be this way going forward. Here are the rules of the game. Either you comply to those, that if you define the scope, we are going to tell you how many resources we need and what schedule we can really implement this scope with and for. And if it is not okay, we are absolutely done here. And then eventually we stopped that relationship and we lost 80% and change percentage of our revenue. And we came down to less than $1 million in 2014. Like $500,000 total revenue of 2014. And that, like, we grew in 2009 to 2014, $2.86 million. And we brought that revenue back to less than $1 million. And now that $500,000, less than $1 million revenue is now more than $35 million revenue in 2025.
And I know you well enough to, in that decision, in that moment, it wasn't panic, it wasn't worry, it wasn't concern. It's, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I guarantee in your mind, you were just like, okay.
I was very clear.
We can go.
Eric, I was clear like you cannot even imagine in that way, right? I took a stand. I said, this is not how I want to spend remainder of my life cannot be spent in suffering. And so first I took a stand. Second, I told, when we were heading back, some people were going to India, some of us were coming to the US. I told all the people, all right, I will not eat, I will not sleep, I'll not do. If we need to beg in front of people to get more project, we'll do that. I'll do whatever it takes. But this is not going to work, and we are not going to work. And all the leaders really just came along after that with me. And as you heard, I share about the less than $1 million became more than $35 million now. And it's just like an amazing journey. I also believe that when you stand for something and if you take on and you sort out yourself to do right things start happening to you. It is the law of attraction. Once you take a stand, and I've always talked about, don't fall for everything. Take a stand for something. Have a courage, have a determination, but don't do it because it helps you. Don't do it because you like it. Take a stand, which is, we started the conversation being fixed versus flexible. Being fixed, being rigid, being a little bit stubborn for things that you stand for that creates and makes a difference for other human beings, right? For those kind of things, you should take a stand and make a difference. The rest, you can be flexible. Who cares? As long as it's really within the framework of that kind of a clarity and a stand, everything is allowed.
And what I think a big takeaway, and I hope nobody missed it, was when you have the clarity, think about if you didn't and how negative that whole experience would be. So much panic and fear and
also
those aren't-
suffering.
Yeah.
Eric, like it's important for you to have a clarity, because the lack of clarity would not let you know and allow to see what you should fight for and what you should let go.
And that's my encouragement to those listening is that's a fantastic place to be in life when you have clarity. And you can only get clarity through doing the work that we're talking about.
Self-discovery, right? Attending seminars, reading books, getting to know yourself, understand your values, understand the principles that you really stand for, the rules that you follow and can be flexible. All of that is a self-discovery.
So people are going to run into walls when they do that. They're going to see some ugly parts of their life that are uncomfortable to go after and really figure out and tear down in case that's needed. What are some of the kind of common resistance or if you're sharing with someone that's new on this journey, what's the encouragement around once they hit those walls?
Yeah. I think if you hit those walls, you should ask a question. What choices do I have? Like either I continue to suffer or I will continue to work through this wall and find a ways to create a hole in it, or maybe go around and see what other things are available. Take a step back. Take a step back and then what values I'm not fighting for? Why am I so fixed here? Why do I need to have a lunch at 12 at noon only? Is it helping me? Is it helping anyone? Can we do it 12:30? Can I do something that helps everybody and helps me? I think those are the things I want to ask people. Don't get stuck. Don't fight for these tiny little things that don't make much difference in life, in your life and anyone else's life. So just take a step back. And if you're not happy, how somebody left a wet towel somewhere, or somebody has not cleaned up the utensils, dirty dishes are it's okay. This is not it's not the fight for worth fighting for. Versus if your kids are not showing up with respect, or family dinners are not happening because one of your kid is not taking family seriously or just being lazy or sloppy. It's worth fighting for. The value is the family should really experience love. That's the value. The principle is you should all eat together. We should all eat together every evening. And the rule is that, okay, we are going to have a small prayer before the dinner, right? Those are some of the things. Now, sometimes maybe some other people are there. It's okay. Some flexibility can be happen that rather than doing this way, we can do that way. But you should not compromise on love as a family. And if one of us as a family member is not showing up with that intent and not doing anything, you should better fight for it, right? It's not okay. So decide at what level you fight for. So my suggestion is if you hit a wall and come across, take a step back and understand what is you are fighting for. Do they worthy of the cause for fight for? What you are not fighting for that you should start fighting for? Do some analysis. And if you cannot do it, find a coach. Really find a coach who can really help you to see things through a different lenses. And grab a book. There are 17 or 20 books. I put it behind the last page of the Inside of Creating Abundance book. Look at that, and if you would like to get a copy of it, send a message to you.
We'll do the links. I'll put some of the books we discussed in the descriptions.
Correct.
For sure.
And you can reach out to me, and I'm available everywhere.
I was personally shocked. You say go get a coach. You're like, okay, how the heck do I do that? I was so shocked that when I'd go to events and meet somebody that's like light years ahead of me in their career or whatever the case is, how willing they are to, if just simple question, hey, can you coach? For example, it was the CMO of Hitachi was at a CMO conference I was at in Vegas recently. And all he said was I loved your presentation. It was an incredible keynote speech. I have some questions. Would you be open to that? And he's like, let's set up a call.
Let's set up a call.
And a guy that important will make time because he understands that investment is an important aspect of life.
I think those people always have a go-giver mentality. Eric, higher up you go, more you want to give back.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they express their life for. The challenges are people are not asking for or not hungry enough. So I want to also say, if you hit those walls, ask for help. Get hungrier. Don't get stuck. Don't keep hitting your head to this wall. You'll get bloody and nothing will happen to the wall, right? Just take a step back and ask questions. Get some help. Find a coach. Read books. Reach out to one of us. It's fun to explore, but don't get stuck. Don't make that as a fixed way of being. Be flexible and be open to your learning and growth.
Love that. So I always ask at the end of the conversation, we've talked about big process, medium process, some smaller processes. What's the one step someone can take today?
Yeah. Power of self-discovery. Getting to know yourself. Get clear what you stand for. That will allow you to know when to be fixed, when to be flexible, when to fight, when to let go. And get clear. Because if you're not clear, everything is important. And in the process, nothing is important. So it becomes like you are doing things for sake of doing it. So having that commitment for self-discovery, self-knowledge, self-awareness, that will give you a lot of clarity to live a life that you love and live it fully. That's what I would say.
Amazing. Thanks, Jeet.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining our conversation today. Remember, peace inside creates results outside. And if you like these conversations, please do subscribe to our channels. I'm available on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I want you to connect with your greatness. I love you all, and we'll see you in our next conversation.